Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the We Blow Carts podcast. My name is Ash, aka I'm a Ghostbuster, and today I'm joined by special guest RedDeadPanda. How's it going?
Hi, Ash. Thank you. Yeah, everything's really, really good. I'm so glad that I got invited to do a recording with you about Fable.
Yes.
You and I spent hours talking about it previously and our love of Fable. So it's nice to have another discussion about it. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Yeah, like I say, we were discussing about you coming on probably when we were still doing the main podcast. And I was like, do you want to come on? And we were talking about games and stuff, and it just ended up into like a Fable love of Fable. Yeah, it was amazing.
It was great.
And it got me back into playing Fable. I jumped back in and started playing Anniversary. I still haven't finished it, but I have started playing it again in all of its janky goodness.
It is janky, but it's great.
I love it. I love it. Although I did get very frustrated at the section. It wasn't even that far into the game. It's at the first farm. You have to beat the little goblin people up against the girl, and you have to beat her. And she kept beating me on the hobs. Yeah. It's like kill the most hobs in like 3 minutes.
She
kept beating me, but on the last second, no matter how many times I killed those hobs, she just suddenly came in and ninja'd in and got an extra one. And after about 3 times, I was ready to throw my pad at the window. And then I restarted the game like the next day where I was, and I beat her. And I was like, thank God, because that I would have stopped playing if I had failed again. I was like, I don't remember it being that hard.
I don't remember it being. I remember the first time I did it, she beat me, and I was like, after I'd played an Anniversary, and I was like, what? I don't remember it being this hard. It was super easy. And then I went and did it again. But you know, that's just a quick get good comment for that, right? You gotta get good.
I think it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And I was way more tired than I should, because I just played from the beginning, and I just kept going for hours, and I was like, I should stop.
Once you start, it's hard to stop, right? One more quest.
That's it. And Fable 1 is just so old school. It feels like a classic RPG style game, whereas it evolved and lost that sort of shine to it in the later games, but not in a bad way. They're much better games. But the way Fable 1 is set up, where you have to keep going back to get missions and stuff, and to level up on the little portal ring things.
Yeah, you very much learnt the ins and outs of the maps to death in that game. You definitely did. The back and forth. I mean, I guess you got that with every Fable game, but I feel like 1 was just, and it was just the way the level design and I guess the age in which the game came out, the limitations. So I think they did a great job for what it was. And considering that, the potential for the next Fable game, seriously, I'm going to die.
Wait. I did see on Twitter the other day, they've just added a new lead on one of the sections of the new Fable team who used to work at Lionhead, and I'm like, every time someone from Lionhead gets added to that Fable team, I get a little more excited.
Yeah.
I wish they would call that team in Playground like the Lionhead dev, like the team, like that's the sub name.
Hey, the game might have been called like, I mean, they might have a cheeky like Project Lionhead internal thing that they talk about. You never know. I mean, what was it?
So.
I can't remember what its actual project name was, but I can't wait. That's probably my most anticipated game for this generation, and then like Hellblade 2. I'm dying for Hellblade 2, but yeah.
Do you know what though? I was so happy when I was like, they're not going to show. I've been asking for Fable, and if you go back on all the tweets and all the podcasts and stuff, you'll see every time there's been an expert show, I'm like, I only want Fable. That's all I want. And every time it gets to the end and they're like, one more thing, and it's never Fable, it's something else. And then they did it, and it was Fable. And I mean, yes, it was just a CGI cutscene, but it had all of it looked great, and it had that sort of humor where the pixie gets eaten, like the fairy gets eaten. And I was like,
I love that. I was like, they hit the tone spot on.
Exactly.
And I was like, okay, I'm here for it. And they've got the backdrop with oh my god, Albion and like so good. Oh, it was Bowerstone, right? Bowerstone Castle.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's in the past. I hope it goes back to more fantasy than the steampunk it was on.
I would, yeah.
But you never know.
I agree, because like Fable 1 happened, right? And then Fable 2 happened. Was that 50 years later? I
Something
think it
like
was
that.
something like that. And then Fable 3 was meant to be like 500 years later or something.
Yeah, because Fable 2, spoilers if you've never played the Fable games, the old lady is the sister from Fable 1, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time.
Teresa, yeah.
Yeah, that is your sister from the original game.
We better have her voicing. Old. She needs to voice. And I don't care. She doesn't need to be a person. She could just be anything. She needs to voice some character in the new Fable game because I love her voice.
Yes.
Like,
just give her as the same character, but make her like a force ghost, like a spirit or something. That's how they can bring back all these old Fable characters. I want to see some of the old ones, and I don't know how they'll do it.
I reckon we're going to get some Jack of Blades. People have been asking for Jack of Blades.
Yes.
I would love a prequel around like the first hero or the first villain or something like that. And then maybe DLC be Jack of Blades or something like that, depending on what they do. But I also want it to be super open world, kind of a bit like Breath of the Wild in the sense like you could see that go there and kind of what like Elden Ring's doing. But has to have the humor and other stuff because the humor in Fable and the achievements in Fable were like they got me to the core because I love British humor so much. And we're kind of like being in New Zealand, we also have that sarcastic humor as well and like that very blunt sort of humor that you guys have. But loved it to death. And I'm trying to think, one of my favorite achievements, and I know it sounds horrible, is the Henry VIII achievement in Fable 3.
Yeah, is that that's one where you have to have like all the wives, isn't
Married
it?
like 5 times and kill like 2 of them or something.
Yeah, the achievements in Fable 3 are amazing. It just makes me chuckle. I say I agree. The humor, being British, I think British people and people with that sense of humor enjoy Fable games more. But for me, it was the fact they had a lot of like British talent in it.
John Cleese in number 3.
Yeah,
he was the butler, right?
I believe so. Yeah, there was Stephen Fry's been in them.
He was Reaver.
Yeah, exactly.
He was great as Reaver. He just had that assholiness to him that fitted that character perfectly, and he was just so pompous about it. I was like, spot on the money there.
But yeah, it's I can gush over Fable. Like I said, honestly though, I feel bad. I haven't played Fable until recently in a long time. Yeah, literally, it's been a very, very, very long time. Just because I hammered Fable 3 so much, I think
I've got like 4 days. 4 days of hours worth of playing that game. So it isn't a lot because the game's not massive, but I've played it like 8 times at least. What do you think the multiplayer would be like in the new Fable? Because I love what they did in Fable 2 and 3 where they had the chat bubbles running around in the world.
Yeah.
And you could hear them if you wanted, and then you could like give them money and stuff, and then you could jump into their worlds. Obviously, Fable 3's multiplayer.
I hope it's better. Like that. I hope it's like a big open world. I hope it's other people can be in the world, but they don't affect your world as such. So you can still, like in the towns and stuff, you can interact with them, stuff like that, but they can't like steal your kills and stuff like in MMOs. And then all I hope is they go with the more Fable 3 multiplayer where it's not someone just following you along and they can free roam more. I don't like how it was tethered, where you can only literally go to the edge of the screen and then that was it. And you were both like trying to run in the opposite direction.
And if you had like bad guys, you were like enemies you were fighting, and they were separated, and you're like, I can't hit this person, so you had to come together to do it, and it was like frustrating as hell. Yep.
And I hope like if you're on the same system, you can have like the other player can have like a full character. So if they ever want to play on their own, they can use the same character basically.
That's what Fable 3 was like, right?
Yeah, but Fable 2 wasn't. So
yeah, Fable 2
I just hope it's more like that in a sense. So
it's gonna be nice to see because we didn't get a Fable last generation. But I played like Fable Legends, and yes, it was Fable, but it just wasn't Fable. And I think they need to go back to the roots of what Fable was, and I think that's what's going to happen with Playground Games. And I'm so glad it was a UK studio who's making it. Like,
Yeah, I think that was a necessity. I think that might have been why it's been so long for Fable to make a return, because Xbox itself doesn't have a huge amount of English-only studios, like British-based ones. They've got a few, but and they've worked with others. But like, look at some of the people they've worked with. Like, they worked with Sumo on Crackdown 3. Look how that turned out. They probably didn't want to go and give a bigger studio, like a bigger IP to them. But I think Playground, like I say, I mean, look how beautiful Forza Horizon is. If they can use that sort of foliage and the trees and stuff, but then add in like decent combat, because it's all about the combat, I feel like.
Well, I mean, when you look at decent combat, but when you look at Forza Horizon 5 and what they did there in the open world racer, and the way that obviously the way their level design, and they've got the oh my god, why can't I think of what it is? But like the foliage and everything, and you're moving at speed and it's loading everything in so well. And I think like if you've got a game like Fable where you're moving slowly through the world, like they could just go nuts on
it could be a lot more detailed, couldn't it, as well?
Oh, yeah. 4K 60, we need a 60 FPS mode. That is my one thing. Like, you better have a 60 FPS mode, because I can't stand playing games in 30 FPS anymore. Like, I'll play them if I have to. Like, I'll play Fable because I love it so much. But like, if I have an opportunity to play 60 FPS, I'm taking it.
Microsoft, when are we getting like FPS boosts and resolution boosts and stuff for the Fable games? Or like, they don't have them properly. Give us them. Or give us a remastered trilogy collection where everything's just got all the bells and whistles in. That's what I want.
Yes. Well, that would be cool if they like buy Fable and then we've given you the first 3 Fable games free.
Yeah.
There's like a downloadable code.
With Game Pass though, why they should be throwing every Fable game. Like, there are other Fable games. We don't talk about them. It's like we don't talk about Bruno, but there's 2 and 3. There's 1, 2, and 3 on now. I think all of them have been added now, or maybe 3 hasn't.
No, 3 hasn't, because I loaded it up this morning. It doesn't have the Game Pass symbol on it. So 1 and 2, but I reckon 3 will go in again, because
they made 3, which is weird. I don't know if it's all across the world or just in the UK, but they changed 3 after a while into a free-to-play starting game, and they split it into episodes, and you could then just buy each section as an episode. But
that's
when
just
it first
a UK
came out,
thing.
They messed it up, and you could get the whole game for free. So I already own the disc. I got the collector's edition, that one you've got with the big fat book, the coin and the stuff, because I got it day one. But when it came out digitally for free, and there was a glitch and you could get it, and then they honoured it, which they didn't have to do, but they did. They honoured it and said everyone who got it for free gets the full game. It means I don't have to waste my disc now. I can just play it off my console. But that was nice. But yeah, I don't know why we got it in the UK, where they decided, you know what, Fable is a good episodic free-to-play game, even though it's an open world. How does that make sense? How can you split Fable down, Fable 3 specifically, into multiple parts?
I think it's because Fable 3 felt a lot more linear around the story, and they were like, we could definitely do this. But like, if you wanted to actually flesh it out, you needed access to everything in that game. But like, I loved like Fable 3 when it first came out. Obviously, it shocked me about, spoiler for anyone who hasn't played it, the darkness bit, and I wasn't expecting that. I was like, oh. Yeah. And then you had the throne room, and you were like, you weren't very clear around the fact that you needed to really hit stuff before you go and continue the story, and that was the bit. So when I go and play that now, I know to be like, make sure I have enough money before I go continue anything else, because you're like, there's no backseats after a certain point. But like, I loved the and they fixed it right when Fable 3 first came out. You had the duplication on the money when you'd give it to other people, and so when you gifted your money to other people, it didn't register that you'd gifted it. Like, so like you'd taken the money out of your account type thing, and then they would get the money, and you would just keep doing that, and then it registered, and they would save after every time you gave people money. And I was like, because I remember I got up to like 50 million or something, and I just kind of split that between my different characters.
And then makes sense, doesn't it? You have to do it.
You have to do it. And I was like, now when it comes to the end of the game, I can just afford to do every good choice I want. That's
the way. Like Fable 3 added the dynamics of running the kingdom, and you end up being like a landlord and stuff for all the properties you buy. And when you first play it and you've got no money, it's horrible because all your people hate you because you've put the rent up. It's like, yeah, well, if they want a house, they've got to pay the rent because I ain't got no money. And then when you get later in the game, you can drop all the rent down and you feel very good about it. But until then, you just feel a bit of a dick.
You do. And then you've got to go around and this was the only thing I was like, you've got this table and you're like, people who are going to play the game and have lots of money eventually are going to buy like virtually every property they can and rent it out to make more money, right? And then they didn't have it where you could just, if you had enough money, just repair all on the properties. Because the moment the property became a bit like run down, you didn't get as much rent. And like, I am not losing money over this, guys. I would like a repair all on all my properties button, but there wasn't one. That's just like I think a small oversight in that game. It was really, really cool. But I mean, Fable 3 didn't get a lot of love from some of the community because they didn't like the steampunk vibe that it was kind of giving off.
I wasn't super into the steampunk, but I still really enjoyed the game, and it wasn't too steampunky. Like the only thing that went too steampunky for me was the DLC, but it was kind of in a laboratory setting. I'm sure there was one where you went into like a mad professor's.
Was it the one where they tried to kill you when you're on the throne, and you have to go in and then you go around and you go to Clockwork Island and you go to that other one. Yeah.
Clockwork Island, they had all like the robots and stuff, but it wasn't even bad. One? It was still a really enjoyable game. Like, so I think one is my all-time favorite. Just for it's the one that really got me into Xbox. Like, that was the first Xbox game over Halo for me. Was Fable 1, and I've played Fable 1 multiple times. I played it originally. I played it on PC. I played the Lost Chapters version, which had the extra content. I then played the remastered version. Yeah, the anniversary, which is on the screen now. This is the PC version.
Oh, what just happened? Oh, cut out. I don't know. You're frozen.
But I also own it.
You froze on me.
Yeah, it's just my internet is shit.
Oh, okay. What were you saying?
I can't remember now. Oh, right, yeah.
The content on screen was the PC version.
Yeah, so the stuff on screen is the PC version of Anniversary, but I also own the
original
digital version and a physical version of it on Xbox as well. So I love this. It's like there's like 3 games in my life I will buy multiple times on multiple consoles because I enjoy them though so much. Fable 1 is one of them, Return of the King is another, and Dead Rising 2 is the third. So
fair enough.
Other than that, like I say, I love Fable 1. I don't think it's the best Fable game by far, but it is my favorite. Like, if I had to go and pick one, I would play Fable 1 first, just for I can recall so much of it, whereas Fable 2 and 3, I can remember more of 3 than 2, but 1, like, it all sticks with me. Like, a good chunk of the entire game, I can just remember playing it. Basically, I'll know exactly where things are when I go to play it. Like
the characters were just I think it was just because it was such an interesting game. Like, I came from growing up with Nintendo, and we had the 64, and then my brother had a GameCube, and we also had a NES, and I'd played like Zelda games forever, and then I played like GoldenEye, but only like with my siblings. Like, I wasn't very good at it. So when my older sister, her boyfriend came around and had bought a Xbox One round. Xbox OG one. OG Xbox. Oh, that's so annoying. Xbox One OG. Okay.
Yeah.
Gets me every time.
Big fat black box.
Yeah. They're both big when you think about it. They were both big. And he had it chipped, so he went in, like, he had Fable on there, and because we were trying to look at games that we might want to play, and Halo wasn't one of the games. It was on the list, but it wasn't one of the games because it was a shooter, and I was like, I'm not really good at shooters. I'm more around like adventure style games. And I played Fable, and what would happen was with my twin, and if one of us died, we had to hand the controller over to the next person, and so we hadn't really. My parents weren't my mum wasn't very happy with us gaming all the time. So we'd only play for like maybe a little bit, and then we'd have to turn it off and go do something else. And so we got up to the first like troll, right when you start going to do the escort the guys through. Yeah, so you get to the troll, or I can't remember exactly where it was, or it might be just the stage before it or room before it. And we couldn't get through it, and we didn't have enough time, and then they broke up and blah blah blah. And then what happened was that's my love with Xbox. Like, that was the first game that I was obsessed with about Xbox, and I wanted an Xbox, and my mum was like, no. And then later on she was like, let's get a PS3, when it was $1,000 in New Zealand. And then the 360 was like $700, and I was like, there's no games I want to play on the PlayStation, because we never had a PlayStation growing up, so I was like not interested. But I wanted to play Fable, and I knew that Fable was backwards compatible on the 360, because I couldn't get an OG Xbox, so I could at least play it on the 360. And she didn't want to have it, bar of it. So what was really nice was when I moved out, like obviously when you hit 18, kind of, my twin bought me a Xbox 360 for Christmas, and I was so grateful. And then she also got me Fable 2. The Game of the Year edition, because I didn't get a 360 until like 2009, so I missed all the first couple of years of the console and the Red Ring of Death. Thank God I missed that. And I loved it so much, and I got a Xbox, OG Xbox version of Fable, and popped it in and played that again. And I got up to the point where and I just found it a lot easier, because I wasn't really a hardcore gamer like I was until I got into Xbox properly. That's when I really became this like dedicated gamer, and like kept up on news and games, and like started watching E3 and so on and so forth. But like Fable 2 loved, Fable 1 loved. I think I've played Fable 2 more than I've played Fable 1, but Fable 3 is probably the one I've played the most. And it's not about which one I like the most, it's just about accessibility around multiplayer, and because you could
Fable
bring your own
3
character.
is the best for that. I mean, 1 doesn't have anything. 2, you're literally, if you're player 2, you are nobody in this game. Like, as soon as you switch that pad off, your
good, bad, average.
Yeah, you couldn't take your save with you. You couldn't take your character. You were just like generic.
The only thing
NPC.
you could take was money.
Yeah,
money with each other, and I think like experience, and that was about it.
But you couldn't like create your own character or anything on 2, I don't believe. I think it was just like you were just henchmen that followed around, basically.
They had like presets. They had like good, bad, male and female type presets, henchmen. Yeah, I agree. I just
3 was cool. I did enjoy 3. I played through the entirety of 3 with my partner at the time. And it was a really good game to play. For like a couples game, it's weird, but it's a decent game to play with a couple. I think it's quite good because of all the choices.
You can get married to each other as well, and then like divorce each other.
Yeah, and then like
get STDs in the game. Yeah, like I love the fact you can get STDs in that game if you have unsafe sex in that game, and like you can have orgies. And I was like, what is this? Like, the game was so good, fun, and like hilarious.
Especially when the other woman finds out and she like storms across the town and starts mouthing at the other woman. Oh, it's great. And then
you get divorced and you're like, you lose your kid and you're like, that was awkward.
But what's weird though, if that happens, they're still in the town. They still walk around. They just act like you don't exist anymore. So
you had to be smart and like marry them in different towns or different cities just so they wouldn't find out about each other. Yeah. But even then, if you weren't intelligent enough, they may find out about each other, especially in like, was it Fable 2? Like, what's the place where you first meet Reaver in Fable 2? And it's like pretty run down, and that's like the first time you run into like escorts in the game. Male, female escorts. And you get that achievement for jumping off that really high spot.
I can't remember what it's called, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. And it was like Westport. No, not Westport. Oh, I don't know. Something like that. I can't remember. But I remember like going there, and then like my spouse found out about me and with this random, and I was like, oh, this is awkward. And then like get that message saying like you're divorced and she's taken the kids or something, or your kids have been given up for like adoption. And that's what I like about Fable 3. Like you didn't lose your kids like you did in Fable 2. Like your kid would go up for adoption and you could go pick them up from the orphanage if you wanted.
Yeah, it wasn't as cutthroat as 2. It was like, they're dead to you now. That's it. They're gone. Yeah. That's not how life works. But in Fable, that's it. They're gone. Everything's gone.
Because like the most frustrating thing about Fable 2 was like you could get your character to love, like your spouse to love you as much as you wanted. Then the moment you progress the story where you were stuck in the Spire for like 10 years, when you got out, your kid, if your spouse did stay with you, which is very rare, your kid was still like a child, and it was just a lot of the time your spouse left you and took the kid, or your kid, whatever happened to it. But it was neat. I think that was my biggest issue, was like that Spire bit, like around that, because I purposely like went around and had a look at different characters' names. Like in Fable 3, I made sure I married a character whose name was Zelda. I was like, this character's name's Zelda, marrying you even if I don't like you. It's the name.
Oh man, I'm just looking. I got the Prima guide, or the Brady game, should I say? Sorry, not Prima guidebooks. But I literally realized like I bought them for just literally a tattoo. I'm not gonna lie, that's how much I was into Fable. I had everything. You got an exclusive in-game tattoo for spending like, how much was this?
What was the tattoo?
I have no idea. It just says exclusive in-game tattoo. It doesn't even tell you what it is. That's how bad it was. I bought this book, just to get an extra tattoo in the game.
Because I know you got an extra tattoo and stuff on Fable 3 and stuff if you pre-ordered and got the specific edition that we got with the book.
Here we go. It is Clockwork Tattoo. I don't know if you could. You probably won't show it on here.
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, I know the one because I definitely.
According to this guide, that is what you get.
Yeah.
There's also
careful now. That's a bit of a risque picture you put up.
I'm going to be demonetized now. To be fair, though, I also bought the blooming the novel, the Balverine Order, which I'm going to show that. Which was like
actually a proper novel.
Yeah, it's a proper book. I've got it upstairs still. It's okay.
Because like the Assassin's Creed books were good. If you've read the novels for them,
they were a lot better than this Fable one. I'm not gonna lie, it was a very, very loose cash-in, in my opinion. But it came with a special Balverine sword or something like that, or a gun. So that was another thing. I was like, I got that day one. This book. I'm probably the only person that's got one, to be fair. But yeah, it's all right. It's a very It doesn't follow the story of Fable 3. It's just like two random people in like a story, if I remember correctly, some like Balverine quest. So
there's enough lore around Fable for people to actually do some decent stories.
Yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't more. Like Assassin's Creed's got like 10,000 books now.
Oh my god!
Comics, graphic novels, everything's coming out for. It's got a manga coming out. Assassin's Creed Valhalla's getting a manga, which I want, but I just can't believe it's getting one. It doesn't seem like the sort of game.
Yeah, it doesn't. Are you trying to do the run? Is this what the gameplay is? Were you trying to do the run?
Probably. I can't remember if it was me playing this originally or it was someone else at the time who I was doing the channel with. But yes, the amount of times I would do this run and fail miserably. I eventually could do it. It was a lot easier on the console because obviously this is on PC, and my PC at the time, if this was me playing it, was rubbish, and it wasn't the most responsive. But on Xbox, I could play it a lot better. And on the original game, I swear it was easier on the original game. But maybe I've just got slower in my older age. This was about 10 years ago, though. 10 years? No, it can't be 10 years ago. When did the anniversary come out?
Oh, Demon Doors. Were Demon Doors? Yeah,
2014.
Demon Doors all of them, right?
2014. Yeah, Demon Doors have been in all of them. 2014 anniversary came out. So what's that? 8 years? Yeah, it'll be about 8 years now since when I recorded this, I would assume. Damn. So
because it came out on the 360, and then they were like, "And you'll be able to play it as backwards compatible, like on the other consoles." Did it come out on the one specifically, or was it just backwards compatible?
Just backwards compatible, I believe. Yeah. They never gave it its own core thing. I'm just literally looking at the voice cast for Fable 3, and it's such an amazing this is like a Hollywood movie lineup, like barring the main hero and the woman, like the male and female versions of the heroes, because they're sort of generic. I say generic. I wouldn't have told them from anyone else, but
I wouldn't have known that other guy was that famous actor at all playing the male, like because of the voice. Yeah, go. Sorry, what? But
like Jasper is John Cleese. Logan is Michael Fassbender, who is Magneto. Right. Reva's Stephen Fry. Paige is voiced by Naomi Harris, who is in Pirates of the Caribbean and James Bond. Am I thinking of the right person there?
Oh, I'll just check that. But yeah,
Naomi Harris, I believe she's Tia Dharma. Sir Walter was Bernard Hill, who is like King of Rohan, which is amazing. Sabine is Ben Kingsley, and then you've got Teresa, voiced by Zoe Wanamaker, who is an awesome actress.
She's amazing.
She's in Harry Potter and My Family, which is amazing TV show. Everyone should watch My Family. But it's got loads. Simon Pegg was in it. Sean Pertwee. And then Nicholas Hoult, who back then wasn't as famous as he is now, but obviously Nicholas Hoult has gone on to do...
I guess
all sorts of things.
Yeah, he's done so much because he's done. Nicholas Hoult did all the new First Class type.
He was Beast, but obviously back then he was in like About a Boy.
Yes,
and now he was. Did he do? No, he didn't. What did he do? I think I'm saying the wrong person. I don't think he was in About a Boy, or was he?
Yes, he was. He was in About a Boy.
That's all right.
Real young.
He was in Skins. Skins is what I'm trying to think of.
That he was in Skins.
I absolutely love Skins.
I did. But like going back, I think 3 sticks out with me because of the multiplayer, but the characters. I mean, every game the characters have been amazing, but like the voice acting and like they were really good at building characters and building a world that you kind of just got very involved in. And that's what I loved about Fable. Like when I play games, I want to be transported somewhere and get super involved with them. And I feel like Fable was one of those style of games that just easily did that for me. And it didn't take itself too seriously, which was really nice because like, I mean, in the gaming industry what the community that we're in, people take gaming way too seriously to the point where, you know, that video that popped up, that the other week, the anaesthetist one, so
what is that about?
I don't know. That was just interesting. I wouldn't ever put my job in jeopardy over video games and my passion because, you know, like my job pays for my passion, so I'm going to make sure I keep it intact as much as I can. But yeah, like Fable I just have this love of Fable that kind of like my love of Mass Effect. Like I love Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. So Fable is very much like my Mass Effect, but for Xbox specifically, because Mass Effect is multi-platform. But yeah, I just can't get enough of it. Now talking about it, and I've loaded it up on my screen behind me. I probably will maybe have a cheeky look at Fable 3 after this.
I've still got to reinstall it. It's one of those. I installed 1 and 2. I haven't installed 3 yet, but 3, there's so much DLC for it.
That came out with Games with Gold at one point, didn't it?
Which one?
3? Was that on Games with Gold?
Probably did.
I'm pretty sure because I don't think I paid for a digital copy, and I didn't put my disc in. So
I assume it did. Like I said, for me, I got it free. So if it's come out with Games Gold, it wouldn't have affected me. So, but I'd like to see them like re-release all the older stuff. Like there wasn't just the 3 main games; they also did a few sort of less popular side games.
I played Fable Heroes. Did you ever play Fable Heroes?
Yeah, Fable Heroes. It's one of those. It's like game. It was like a little beat 'em up sort of side-scrolling board gamey game, wasn't it? It was very weird.
And you were puppets.
You were like little puppets, yeah. And then there was the card game as well.
Well, Fable Fortune
was Fortunes, and then there was pub games which released, I believe, before Fable 2. And it was just like the multiplayer, not the multiplayer, but like the games you play in the pub in Fable 2.
Yeah, so I think it released right after Fable 2.
Right,
Yeah.
I know it was one of the, but what you played in that, it transferred over to the main game. So that was
It
one of
might have
those
been
ones
released
there.
beforehand. I can't remember, actually.
It's been a long
But
time, but
it released the same year. That's all I know, is that it definitely released the same year.
yeah, let me just have a look. It included 3 games, mini games.
That's what I liked about the pub games. Like, when you do that, when you look at other games that have done similar, like, you look at putting a game within a game, and you had, like, Gwent in The Witcher, and so on and so forth. Like, games within a game, they're just like little Easter egg type niceties that you have, and you can do them if you want. And like, the pub games were somewhat fun for some of them, and other ones we were just like,
Yeah.
why?
I believe it was a pre-order bonus. If you pre-ordered it, you got that free. So I think it came out like a month before, maybe, or just before. But for every piece of gold you won in a tournament on pub games, a piece of gold was added into your Fable 2 character. So basically, it was good before playing the games. You'd start Fable 2 after pre-ordering it and have a big chunk of money straight away, which kind of broke the game a little bit. But
yeah,
it was quite fun. It's always nice to be able to just go and buy crazy stuff on Fable games straight up.
What's one thing that you're really wanting them to kind of redo in the new Fable? Anything, like, what's one thing that you're sort of wanting them to really redo that kind of was annoying or a bit of a pet peeve in the previous games? I'm just throwing the big questions at you now.
I think I like how simple like you say, you can see on the screen now trying to do the electric stuff, but like using the abilities and the magic abilities, I feel like that could be improved for modern consoles. How you target, and 2, how they're used in combat and stuff. I feel like especially in the earlier Fables, the magic, like when you're using the you'd stand there doing this electric for like 10 seconds till someone would die and stuff like that, and it was just like, well, this is shit. Let's have something really cool. And I feel like with next gen power, we can get some really cool sort of magic spells and abilities and stuff. I know it wasn't the main focus in Fable, but I feel like it would look so much cooler. I think that was obviously limitations back in the day. It was good for its time, but
I like the fact that you have the option to play like ranged and like melee and magic all on the same character. But I also would like them to kind of, I guess, expand on the class, like do a bit more class and stuff. But I guess the big thing for me is fixing the NPCs.
Yeah.
When you would get trapped in a building because they loved you and you couldn't get out, and you were like, how do I get out? And you're stuck, and you're like, I couldn't play evil and I didn't want to go and murder them all. But the good thing about Fable 2, though, was when you used magic, they just ran from you in fear. In Fable 3, you couldn't use magic on them because they're like, ha! And I was like, what the hell is this? That is my thing, like NPCs. And I think they can, like, looking at what's been happening with NPCs now, and then there's even an article about EA having a patent for improving NPCs around their AI, and just I'm just like, that's the big thing for me, because it was frustrating, especially in Fable 2.
I'd also like maybe some dialogue options with NPCs, because I know you've got you basically interacted with NPCs in Fable by doing like emotes at them. You would like go do the muscles, or you'd burp, or you'd fart, or you'd blow kisses and stuff, and that was it. I feel like maybe it needs to modernize into maybe some kind of like dialogue as well. I don't want too much, because I think then it won't be Fable, but maybe once you've done your interactions with the like emote style of interacting, you then get maybe a bit more in depth. Like if you've got a relationship with them, you then have a bit of dialogue between them, because technically, like, you would marry someone in Fable, you'd have a cutscene saying you got married, and then they'd just sort of walk around and be like, all right,
the wedding ring above their head.
Yeah. Are we having sex today? That was it, basically. Pay for your kids. That was literally it in a nutshell. That weren't even that bothered.
Like, Fable 1 was so difficult to try, and if you got married, to get with your partner, you like have to do a whole heap of stuff, and then the bed would go green, the bed spot, and you'd be like, oh, okay, we can do this now. I did love the jokes, though. They're like, if you tried to go again, they're like, I've got a headache. Oh my gosh. So many
I'd
good
like to
things
see more
about that.
populated areas as well. Like it looks fun. Like even now, I think this looks good on the screen, but they are very sparse in NPCs, and especially in the big cities compared to like. I feel like they could be more bustling, and I'm just trying to remember. Like, I'm sure there was like some like towny village areas, and there was like 5 NPCs. I feel like nowadays with modern consoles, and we could have a lot more. Even if they don't interact with them that much, it'll just feel like they're more alive and bustling.
And they were all reskins of each other.
Yeah, that as well.
And they
definitely.
all wore the same clothes, and I'm like, all right, okay.
Yeah, like every town has some weird cult where they've all got to wear the exact same clothes or something.
Well, what was the thing? Do you remember with Fable 3, you could create a villager? Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
And you created a villager, and they were in your world, and you could dress them. But like, I was like, can't I just put them in some outfits that are actually cool? Because the outfit choices for the create your villager were awful. But I named my villager and so on and so forth. But like, I married that person because I created them for the purpose of like having that, because I knew there was like an achievement. Obviously, get married. There was also and like you could get married to other people you brought into the game with you. You could have the business contracts, and that was pretty good if you were like smart with the people you jumped into their world with and made sure that it was around the times when they were buying all those really expensive buildings, and you're like, yeah, I'll partner with you. It was great.
Yeah, you could even like share clothing and stuff on Fable 3. Like you could send each other, like you could put on like clothes from your friend's game. Like trying to get that bloody chef's hat is a nightmare in Fable 3.
Yep.
So you could just get it from a friend and save you the time and hassle if you knew someone who'd done it.
What was the other thing that was absolute nightmare? Not Fable 3, Fable 2, the dolls. The Fable 3 didn't have dolls, eh? You know, in
No,
Fable
it had
1,
gnomes, didn't it?
Oh, I fucking love the gnomes. We'll talk about them. Yeah, I love them so much. But like Fable 1, where basically you had to collect all the dolls. That's the only achievement I don't have on Fable 1 is all the dolls. Because like I think you had to play it like more than once or something to unlock all the dolls.
I don't think I ever got all the dolls myself. It was a nightmare. They were horrible. I think it was Fable 2. Yeah.
2 also had them, but you had to no one game ever got every single doll. You had to play multiplayer and trade dolls, and there was one doll that was always really hard to get, and you had to really like build up rapport with these people and go, gift it to me and I'll gift it back right back to you, because people did not want to give you dolls in case you walked off with it and never gave their doll back.
I want to add that to my what do I want to see them change in the new Fable. The way they do achievements. Don't do trading achievements. I have to trade with people. Don't lock achievements behind phone and tablet apps that get discontinued. So you cannot get 100% completion, because I can't finish the anniversary edition because there's one achievement that you need. Is it Microsoft Glass or something? Or what is it called?
Something. No, what's it called? Smart Glass. Smart Glass. I still have the app on my phone, even though I can't use it.
That's been dead for years, so you cannot 100% the game, and they've never bothered to patch in a way to do it. So let's not do that. Let's have achievements that are just limited to gameplay. You can get, like Fable 3 was good because a lot of the achievements were like, do this or see someone do this. So even if you didn't do it,
so good.
You just randomly unlock something because your friend did something random, and you're like, yes, that's more games should be like that. That's like Sea of Thieves, where you get the points for what your friends do, even if you're not doing it, as long as you're sort of around them. Do you know what I mean? Which is great. I think more games should be a bit more sort of like co-op friendly in that sense.
That's what they did. They really made it co-op friendly, because I didn't really like. I played Fable 2, and obviously on the 360, the one version I had, it was before they released the one with Wi-Fi in it. So we had to have an Ethernet cord, or you had port like cable connected, or you had to buy that attachment to get Wi-Fi, and I was like, I'm not doing that. So I didn't really. I just had silver, and I didn't really have gold for a while, and then we got gold. And once because I was like, I'm never going to play for online, coming from Nintendo, obviously, where you don't pay for online. And then they got me. Once I started playing Fable 2 with multiplayer, because I get like a 14-day free trial or something on a code from a game that I got. And after that, didn't go back. And yeah, That's
how it happens, isn't it? That's I was always like, why would you pay for multiplayer? I usually just play on PC. But as soon as you get that free, like 48-hour trial, it's all downhill from there. And I love that you used to be able to stack those 48-hour trials. You can't do that anymore.
You can't do that now. Really piss me off.
But like Game Pass, the amount of times I buy a console and it gives me a month free Game Pass, but I can't actually use it.
I have to gift it to people, and everyone I know already has Game Pass.
£500 on a console. Let me have this month free of Game Pass. Yeah. I pay full price for Game Pass. I'm one of those idiots that doesn't create new accounts every month. I literally pay full price because I feel like I'm getting my money's worth, and I'd like to see more games in it. But give me that free month for that console. I've bought
game share. I game share with Game Pass. So my twin and I both because it's like $20 here for Ultimate, and so she pays $10 a month, and I pay $10 a month, and we game share. So good.
That's not bad. No, I do on Steam. I've got, because you can do like the family thing on Steam. Me and my friend did that at one point, so we've done that. But on Xbox, everyone I sort of know who I would probably trust logging in my account on their system already game shares with someone else, so I'm not that fussed. But I've got way too many games as it is. I don't know how I would play more if I game shared with people either. It would break me.
Yeah, yeah.
I would mind melt.
Because I've got her console set up as my home console because I've got it all there, and I buy a lot of the games online and stuff. So she gets access to every single thing that I buy, which is really, really cool, and she loves it. But it's just nice. Like, I think when Cyberpunk came out, I bought it, and then she just paid for half of the game, and then we just both played it separately. And she hasn't really played much of it. I need to go back and finish that game, but yeah. Do you know what I really want and I need in the new Fable game is something equivalent of Evil Gnomes, because you brought it up and I completely wasn't thinking about Evil Gnomes at all. I mean, they had gargoyles and I love the silver keys, but gargoyles just... Evil Gnomes were like the chef's kiss to the game in the sense of that mission. Once you got that quest line with just the harassment you got based on your character's gender, if you were good or bad. It was great. And you would listen and you'd be like, where are they coming from? And all you're hearing is insults being thrown at you. And they were ruthless. Like, what's the one about... I'm trying to think of the one where he throws the puppy into the river. In a sack. Oh my god, this is brutal. Like, one of the ones was if you're playing a female character, it was like, "Are you lost? Can I help you find the kitchen?" And I was like,
"That's amazing,
so good." Stereotype jokes are great. Like, if you can't laugh at those things, then you're basically dead inside. So it's a you problem. But yeah, they were great. Like, was there any particular how much did you always make sure that you and activated that quest line when you replayed Fable 3?
It's been that long, I couldn't tell you the last time I played it, or I can't even remember much, but I just know it stands out in my mind. But I always try and play it because it's funny. Do you know what I mean? You've got to do it. It's one of those quests that you've just got to try.
You have to do.
Although you mentioned them throwing the dog in, I would love to see more sort of pet options and maybe mounts come to Fable.
Yes.
Or like, give me a horse and cart and let me just little trot around. That'd be amazing. Like, we're gonna go full free roam. Let me sort of like GTA, but with like medieval
horse
GTA. Yeah, I want that. I want to be able to stick all my
highway
wives in
robbery. You and I were talking, though, about what we really wanted for Fable, the new Fable, because I was talking about the morality system in Fable the last time we spoke, and I was saying, like, in Fable 1, 2, or 3, even though you can have the option to be bad, no matter what, the final resolution is a good resolution. Like, you can't play evil properly. And that's the thing, is like you can't, like, you'll never... I mean, in Fable 3, you could be, like, a tyrant, but I feel like overall you're saving Albion, and if you really wanted to be evil, you would become the bad guy, or you'll join the bad guy's side. And I think that's where I really want to see that morality and, like, those choices really impact. Like, if you are going to be bad, maybe you could be swayed by the bad guy and take over them or something and become the next thing. And, like... Yeah.
Because like Fable 3, like no matter how bad you were, you're still saving all the people at the end technically, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. You've just got to sort of be like, right, you're doing this whether you like it or not. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I agree. I mean, Fable 1, you could technically become the bad guy right at the end. Spoilers.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you basically have the choice to kill the bad guy or kill your sister, sort of thing, become the bad guy, but it doesn't affect the game at all apart from how it ends. That's literally
Fable 2, your sister's there.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything. It's not a canon ending. It's not like there's much to it either. So yeah, I'd love to see more of that. I'd like to see it go a lot more in depth. Have you ever played Kingdoms of Amalur?
I love that game.
That to me was like a spiritual successor to
That's
Fable.
why I loved
like
it so much.
It played like it had the way the each of the areas loaded up, and they were small. It wasn't like wide open. They were sort of chunky little areas. And the graphical style. I hope Fable keeps its like oval lushness and the brightness and like the chunkiness, because that to me is Fable as well. I know we're going to get a really like modern looking one, but I hope it's not just boring normal trees. I want to see some like fantasy trees and massive plants and bright colors and stuff. I want it to be a bit more magical than just this is a tree and this is a wood. Do you know what I mean?
Like beautiful big willow tree or oak tree in them, and it's kind of like a centerpiece, and you can be like, that would be, because you'll have your generic trees, but they really need to lean into that Fable style like fantasies. Yeah, they really do need to lean into that. I agree.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, but I'm really pumped for it. Like I said, I don't think it's going to get shown this year at E3 at all. I don't think we're going to see it till next year. But I live in hope that that's my secret thing. If I just get like, even if it's just like a cutscene or a CGI of the like, or just like a overview of like some of the areas, like this is the city, one of the cities. We're not really showing you any gameplay. It's just this is the city with people wandering around it. I'll take it. So.
That, or just to kind of give us a setting. That or the setting. Like, I would love to know when they're setting it. That's like, because then your imagination can run rampant, and then you can be like, as a community, going, "This is what we want." And hopefully, if we scream out loud enough, they're like, "Oh, we could implement that. That's a great idea." Like Sea of Thieves, the way that game has evolved based on community input. Like, I know that guy who like tweeted out to Sea of Thieves, to Rare, about the day one patch, because they were making a joke how every game now has a day one patch. So if you played the game on day one, you got an eye patch that had a 1 on it to do with the day one patch. And I was like,
I got that. It was amazing.
I got that too. And I was like, that is what you need. Like, you need that style of things. And I feel like a UK studio definitely can lean into that, because they definitely get it, and they've got that humor and that cheekiness to them.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I just want to play Fable.
Yeah, tell me about it. But like Playground do like with Forza Horizon, they have like they have the seasonal events, they have the live events, they have a constant stream of updates in between. Like they have the 2 DLC packs you get. Like they always have like they have like a more realistic one than an over-the-top one as well. So they're used to the over-the-top stuff, but they do the 2 expansions, but then they still, every couple of months, they were pumping out a new update with new achievements, new game modes, new story content. I hope with Fable, they continue the same way. So yes, you get the base game. We know we're going to get like a chunky DLC campaign or something later on, maybe 2, but give us little updates, maybe like, even if it's just a couple of quests here and there, and maybe sort of like seasonal changes. So it's Christmas.
Say that, like Christmas and like Halloween and stuff.
Yeah, I love that. I love when MMOs do that, and I feel like it would fit in well with in Fable sort of world. So I'd be up for that, like a Halloween, or like I want a Santa costume or something stupid.
Everyone running around with jack-o'-lantern heads, and like,
exactly,
because that's what I liked about like Destiny 2. Everyone was running around with jack-o'-lantern heads, and they had those cool little events, and like, yeah,
I think the world is like endless in it. Technically, I feel like hopefully they don't mess it up. I'm like, you've got people from Lion Edge. You know how Fable works. They basically put out one of the best rated games of last year. So I have high hopes, and I won't let them. I won't temper my expectations. God damn it!
Wasn't the lead on Forza Motorsport or Forza Horizon 5 or was it that he left and he went to the Fable team? the guy who's been the lead on the Forza Forza Horizon series, the director or whatever, he went to the other Playgrounds team.
Well, and so that can't be bad then. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah, because the other guy who we'd seen on screen talking about actual Forza Horizon 5 was the new guy who came in. I think he's been working for them for forever, it feels like. But yeah, he left and went to the other team. So I'm just like, keen. Because they've shown that they can do open world games. Like, I mean, you're looking at the map size for Forza Horizon 5, and that's massive. Imagine like running around on Fable doing that. That's sort of like, if you want an open world game, obviously bigger. You need bigger. Gamers, if they love it, are going to play it to the ends of the earth and find every little thing that they can. And that's what I liked. Every little time you thought you knew what Fable was, they came up with something else that you were like, they added in like little Easter eggs, and I love that game so much.
I mean, I've just looked. It's nearly been 2 years since they showed that teaser trailer off. It was July 2020, so there's a good chance they could show something. I mean, I don't think it's coming out this year. I don't think it might even come out next year. I think it could be 2024. I hope it's not.
If they're gonna, Ko. Sorry.
No, I think there's I'm got to show me some. Give us some. It's been a dry beginning of the year as always with Xbox. Give me some Fable. Just give me a little clip. Anything. I'm not expecting it to come out. I'm not expecting it to be this year, but I just want to see some. Like I say, the Fable Twitter account has literally not posted in nearly 2 years since they put up that trailer. So I feel like maybe it's time you give us a little something.
I reckon we'll probably see something next year. I mean, I reckon that's what they'll do it, and it's interesting because like now Xbox is this Western RPG type company. Like they own so many RPG IPs now that it's going to be really hard to not be playing an RPG throughout the year on any given year on Xbox's side. Like you've got Starfield coming out end of this year, and then it's like, where are they going to fit Fable in? Because you know they've got all the games coming out from Obsidian as well, and you're just like, for me, I love RPGs, so any excuse to play them. But I don't know. Do you reckon it would be an end of year or beginning or mid year game that they would release Fable on, or?
I think it'll be an end of year because they always stick stuff. Xbox don't like to put anything big anytime, but like October to December for some reason. I'd like to see it early year because then it'll come out. PlayStation always put their big games at the beginning of the year, and Xbox never has. And I'm not bothered because like I'm still playing stuff from November, but there's always massive games like God of War comes out early in the year, Horizon, Gran Turismo, big games for PlayStation. There's nothing for Xbox until sort of mid-end of year, so I'd like to see something big come out at the beginning of the year, but then they may just stick it at Christmas time for get the Christmas sales. It's they know better than me, but I would love to see it come. I'd like to see it early here because then while it's quiet for me, I've got a lot more time to play it. Christmas is horrible because there's so much out.
It's a nightmare trying to fit anything in around that time. Yeah,
I'm still got games from like 2 Christmases ago. Let's give us early stuff. Just give us it then.
I know, like. I know this is sad because a lot of the games are really based on, like, release dates are based on, I guess, where in the world you are. Like being down here in New Zealand where we have the opposite with seasons and stuff. Like games don't really release around your summertime. You have that big period where they don't, but it's our winter time here. And so I would like to just sit inside and play video games. So I'm like, could you just put Fable out around that time? I'm quite happy for that. So like when games release around that time, I'm happy about it. But there's not a lot of games that do, which is the frustrating thing. Because you've got like E3 around that period usually, and we'll see if that's still a thing moving forward. But and so I love that time of year for me, and I want to be playing big Xbox games around that. Yeah. But you don't get that opportunity. I'll play Fable and you won't. I'm going to take like a week off when Fable comes out.
Oh, it's day one. I'm going to literally get lost in it. There's very few games I will buy day one and not play and just sit and play nothing but. That is one of them. It's getting straight up bought.
And I know it's coming to Game Pass, but I will support the devs on that one.
I would anyway, because they're going to give us some stupid costumes, or like Fable 2, you got Master Chief's armor and the plasma sword. Like if I have to pay full price to get that again, I'll buy it because I'm stupid and I just it's great, and hopefully they do a collector's edition, because I've got collector's edition Fable 2 and Fable 3. I want and whatever the new one. I'm assuming it might just be called Fable, which I hope it isn't. I hope it's got some cool tagline or 4 or something. I don't know. I can't just call it Fable. I'm getting sick of games and consoles using the same name over and over.
Oh, rebooting themselves like God of War.
Yeah,
rebooting themselves.
Just stop. Ratchet and Clank. It's confusing.
Oh, rift apart and da da da. I'm like, oh, could we just like you had Fable Lost Chapters and you had like Fable 2 and Fable 3, and that was fine. But like, yes, it needs to be just more than just Fable. And I understand that when they were announcing it, it was just the kind of, this is what we're working on. So it'd be interesting to see what actually turns out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll see. I don't think they'll call it Fable 4. They might do, just for the sort of clout behind it, but I think it's just going to be called out. It'll be like Fable, and then with like a subtitle or something like that. Now, question: did you ever play the Kinect game, Fable: The Journey?
Yes.
Was it any good? I own it, but I've never actually played it because it was one of those things that I did. I got it right at the end of when I had when I was playing on my 360. I had my Kinect set up, so I never plugged it in, but it's always been sat there, and I'm like, should I play this or not?
No. To be honest, I'm just gonna be straight up honest. No, I think it would have been fine if it wasn't. It was the Kinect, because like it wouldn't quite get the tracking right. Like you had to do certain things for spells and so on and so forth, and you had to like put your hands out when you're doing the riding your horse and stuff. And it just. I mean, if it had released on Kinect 2.0, it might have been better because it had a lot better tracking and so on and so forth. But sorry, I'll get back up on the mic. But yeah, nah, it just wasn't. It wasn't Fable for me. I mean, even like it had the sister in it, like Teresa in it, but it just, I don't know. The art style was, I guess, a bit too cartoony for me around it, and I know that. It has a cartoony vibe to it, but I bought it because I love Fable so much, and it had the Fable name to it, but it didn't feel like Fable. And I didn't even finish the game because it was just too hard, like trying to get the Kinect to register everything. And I liked the Kinect because like Kinect Adventures, Fruit Ninja on Kinect was so much fun.
Yes.
Like having if you're going to have a game where you're using that, you really need a game that's going to be lots of fun and that you can either play single player or bring in and play with other people, because playing with other people on like Kinect was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I used to like the way it used to take photos of you and stuff when you were playing, and you could share them afterwards, because not a lot of games did that back then. Nowadays, every game under the sun shares something at the end of your game. It's like, oh, put this on Twitter, put this on social media. That back then though, it didn't. It was very rare. So, but I bought it just because of the Fable name, and
you're not missing out.
And I will play it one day, maybe for the channel, but I'll not rush to play it then. I might do like like play for all my Kinect games at once and do like a big master video or something.
Because you have to be real specific with your movements, like really, really deliberate. And that was the frustrating thing about it.
Yeah, that's the worst. They're the worst Kinect games, because some of them work really well and you don't have to be super like strict, and then other ones like you'd go like that and it's like you're not waving correctly. I'm gonna. Your like hand is slightly off
filter, and it's like I can't read what you're doing, and you're like,
you're too close to me. I'm not. I am half the room away. I can't get any further back. I'll be in the garden.
You have to like calibrate it for every game. Like you literally had to calibrate it, and then like after you calibrated it, you were like, I need to recalibrate it again because the calibration didn't seem to work properly.
Yeah, that's basically Kinect. And then you spend all that time and you switch your Xbox on, and then you just start like it goes and look at you, and you're like, I don't really want to sit looking at myself in that little picture in the corner. Yeah, I'm sat moaning on the sofa. It's like my least, like the least attractive version of me I can ever see is me like monged on a sofa with a bucket of crisps playing video games. I don't need to look at that on the screen looking back at me.
Did you play Fable Legends though when it was in like demo stuff?
No,
did you give it a go?
I
it was
didn't.
A beautiful game.
Yeah, it looks. I was so hyped for it. I watched all the videos. I read up on it, and I was gutted when it got cancelled. I know it wasn't proper Fable, but it looked fantastic.
It looked great, and for some of the characters were really cool, but it just was very two-dimensional, and the gameplay was just wasn't quite where you'd want it to be. I think like the characters were very much in line with like Fable characters. Like they'd done a great job, but they weren't. There was no story around it, and you weren't really, because you only got to see snippets of what they wanted, and you could play certain stages and do certain things, but a lot of it was very much closed off to you. And I was really gutted when that got closed down, like when it got cancelled. And when Lionhead Studios got closed down, that was like a gut punch.
Oh yeah, like a knife in the side, wasn't it? I was gutted.
I was like,
I miss Molyneux. I know people hate him and he talks a lot of rubbish, but man, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the hype he brought, even though it never got realized. I still loved it. I don't think Fable would have been Fable without him, though.
You're right, but you could always see the intent behind what they were like, his vision, where he wanted it, and the intent behind it. It just couldn't, like, technology wise and there were limitations around what they could do back then. Didn't quite live up to that, and I feel like what he talked about now, like back then, could definitely be realized now, especially on next gen or current gen hardware. I still need to get used to next gen, current gen. Oh my god, current gen hardware. But yeah, he did tell he was very much elaborate around how he talked about what they were doing in the games. Very much, embellished a bit.
Was.
Yeah.
But I still, that was the time when we had all these big sort of heads of studios that were like, they were their own little presence. We don't have that many anymore. They're a dying breed, aren't they? Like Todd Howard's one of them. There's not many. They're just slowly fading into existence, just like into the background.
The guy who created Gears of War, and now he's just basically shot himself in both of his feet.
Oh, Biffy.
Cliffy B. Yeah, but you're right. We don't see it anymore. No. We don't really get to know studio heads and like build them up, and that's what I kind of like about what's happening with Ninja Theory, with the dev diaries, and you really get to know what's going on. Like that's what I want Fable to be. I was like, can you just give us something and say, hey, we've just worked on this piece of artwork, and like, or this is a character model, and I'm like, give me something. I'm desperate.
Yeah, although I like the Hellblade stuff, but there was a bit too much of look at these lovely scenery in Norway or whatever it was. It looks fantastic. I get me wrong, it looks a lot better than where I live. It's beautiful, but I prefer the ones where they were like about the motion capture and the actual designing. I mean, it's great that they go out and they scanned all these countries, like, and they scan it, and like they did with Horizon, where they did all the sky, like it had so many hundreds of like skies recorded for stuff. That's really fantastic, but I don't need to see 100 videos of it. Just do one, and then let's show something more computer based than for me.
I liked about talking about Hellblade there, when you had that video of them kind of talking about investment and trying to get people to invest in the game, and then they're doing that scene where she's acting live and they're seeing what shows up on the video game, and she's acting live doing it with the motion capture and stuff. And I was like, that was super interesting watching that happen, and how they just like do the scene and then they use the camera to make it very cinematic and show you where they, and I was like,
yeah, more stuff like that. I'd be up for that, like a behind the scenes Fable, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I still think Fable Legends would have done all right if Game Pass was out back then. I feel like it would have launched onto Game Pass, and it may have died a death like Bleeding Edge did, but it would have had a run, and I think they would have released it if Game Pass was out, because I think it was in a very complete state at the time they pulled the plug. Yeah, I just think they didn't want to invest any more in it, but it's a shame because, like I say, I think it was just ahead of its time. Now, that seems like very much like what the current live service games and free-to-play games are now, and I think it just was a bit too ahead of its time, maybe.
Yeah.
Not so much for being Fable, because it was basically Fable in just name and slight sort of theme.
It
didn't play like Fable. It didn't have the Fable story and that. But I feel like it wasn't what people wanted to play at the time in that sort of style of game, because there was a lot of like MOBAs back then that all died a death very quickly, unless apart from the big ones. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, for me, I played it because I wanted to see what Fable was potentially going to look at, because I played at video games with this guy called Ozzy Michael, and he talked about, he got in and played it, and he said this game is absolutely beautiful, and like, so I got into it and I was like, yeah, it is stunning, and you could just see the level of detail and love that went into like the world building around it. But I wanted a traditional Fable game, especially after playing Fable the Journey. I wanted a traditional Fable game, and you weren't going to get that out of that. And I think that's what a lot of people were like, I'm happy to play multiplayer, but I want a traditional Fable game with multiplayer in it. Like, that's what people wanted. I don't know. That's what people in my circle wanted, and that's definitely what I wanted, because I loved the multiplayer in Fable 3, but I really wanted a traditional Fable game and then multiplayer thrown in, because that's cool. Like, you could have like a multiplayer facet to it as well, like, I don't know, horde mode or whatever you wanted for that, and you could have this as like one of the gameplay modes if you wanted to add in multiplayer and on top of just co-op. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Oh, I really just want Fable now.
I know. Just makes me want it more, talking about it all the time. I'm gonna have to go play some more of it at some point.
Yeah.
So I've just been reading though that 2 Point Hospital's developer is basically founded by Lionhead co-founders. I didn't realize that. So 2 Point Studios, it was founded by Mark Webley, who was one of the co-founders of Lionhead, and also Gary Carr, who worked at Lionhead from 2003 to 2015. So he was like a creative director. So some of the heads of Lionhead are at 2 Point Studios, which kind of explains why it's got that. I know they're trying to theme it on like Theme Hospital and stuff, but it definitely has that British humor in there as well, obviously because they're theming it on that. But yeah, I didn't know that till just today, so fun fact.
Well, who was it? Flaming Fowl Studios did that Fable Fortune game, and that was a lot of ex-Lionhead Studios, and then they got permission from Microsoft to use the Fable IP to make the game. Yeah, because by that point it had already closed down. But what have they been doing? I have no idea. I think, I don't even know what they've been doing. Like, the last game that I saw video game from them was Fable Fortune, and they either died a death or they're
stuff up. Quickly looking on Twitter, Gloomhaven,
a role-playing video game, strategy video game, adventure strategy, Microsoft Windows, Macintosh operating. Oh, so it's on.
It's a PC.
Why does it keep
looks like Diablo-esque game? Oh no, it's not. It's like a hex-based fantasy combat game. Yeah, so that's all they've done. They've done Fable Fortune. Yeah, and Gloomhaven. I've heard of Gloomhaven. I've never played it because it's not my type of game, but it looks. Imagine if it was like Fable-esque character designs and environments, but on like a hexagonal-based sort of strategy-tiled game. So,
it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting.
I just want to play Fable now. That's just
it'd be like, and then play Fable and then continue talking about Fable and going, oh, do you remember this and do you remember that? Yeah, I'm basically like, I just want to play Fable right now, but
That's it. Well, I think we've probably come to the end of this episode in terms of wanting to play Fable instead.
We're just like, do we have to keep talking or rather play Fable?
That's it, yeah. That's it, definitely. But yeah, so thank you for joining. It's been great to have you on. We'll definitely have to do something else in future. More Fable.
Yeah. You and I will probably, when Fable comes out, jump into a party and like play Fable. Multiplayer, probably.
That sounds the
go
best.
And co-op.
Definitely.
That sounds like a great idea.
Damn right, yeah, that sounds good.
Talk about what we loved and then talk about every little thing that just annoys us and we wish it was still from the previous game, and like there'll be things like that. You know how it is. Like, nothing's good enough for us. Nothing. We're always going to find something.
Oh, I'm gonna give it a pass on a lot of things though, Fable. I'm gonna look at it as in fanboy tinted glasses because I love it so much. I can look past past its flaws. The fact that we're getting another one after Lionhead shut, I never thought we would. So I'm happy. I just hope
I'm just grateful
not rubbish.
that we're getting another one. Yeah, I don't think, like, honestly, with what Playground Games is like, you know it's not going to be rubbish. Like they put a lot of time and effort and into like the Forza Horizon series, and you can see the detail that they go into it, and I feel like they're very much going back to basics around what Fable's essence is. Just with that reveal trailer, like you talked about, like when they showed the toad eating the fairy, and you're like, that's what I need, is you hit the humor mark perfectly, and I'm like, I trust you to make Fable. That's all I needed was that, and I trust you to make Fable.
and it looks like Microsoft isn't rushing them, which was always the problem with Microsoft. They sort of was like they were forcing square pegs into round holes with their developers, like do Connect games, do this, which is why Lionhead failed. But I feel like they've realized they have to let the teams nurture them and do the things they need to do, how they want to do it. And I feel like that's a positive sign for me that the game will not be dog.
We've been talking so long, my Xbox turned off.
I've turned mine on while we were chatting just to make sure I wasn't downloading anything back. Because
there's this Fable going off in the background. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. I don't know which way I'm going. Yeah, Fable 3. I'll just move my little red panda as we're talking about it. Yeah. But yes, definitely have to do something, but we'll probably be playing games before we get on and do another video at some point because of the time difference. Obviously, you're in the UK and I'm in New Zealand, so it's just that trying to find a good time to do it. Yeah,
it's been awkward, definitely.
We nailed it down though this time.
Yes, we've made it here. We're only sort of like, well, I was only sort of like 10 minutes behind this time, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But where do you want to plug anything? Where I know you do your own podcast, so do you want to tell people about that?
I'll go into that. So you can find me on Twitter. I'm RedDeadPanda with the number 1 on the end. And I also am on Xbox Live, so RedDeadPanda 871. And I co-host a podcast every week. It's called the Gamers Initiative Podcast. I co-host with Ashtray Gaming and Elite Gaming Guru, and we do it Friday 9 p.m. British Standard Time, which is 4 p.m. Eastern Time, but it's Saturday 8 a.m. Australian Time and then 10 a.m. New Zealand Time. So because Elite's in the UK, Ashtray's in Australia, and I'm in New Zealand, like we've had to work out the exact right time we can do it. But yeah, we talk about mainly Xbox stuff. There'll be PlayStation stuff on there, but like news, and it's a bunch of fun. So if you do want to come by at some point, and you can come by, join us live and say hi. Would love to say hi to everybody.
Yeah, I've listened to the last few episodes. It's been really good. I struggle to listen to it live though nowadays in the evening. That's like my only free time for gaming, so I sort of just like zone out. So I've started now because I drive to work, which is about an hour and a half to get to work. That's like podcast time for me. I've got like every day I'll listen to some sort of different podcast on the go, and I can catch up that way. That's the best way. So, but I highly recommend people check it out. Really good show. So
Cheers.
Awesome.
I like that feedback. We try and have good banter. We're a bit of a cheeky bunch to each other.
To be fair, people who watch our show know how our banter is like way too high. I mean, so if you want banter that isn't as crazy as our banter, but really good, definitely,
definitely go there. I mean, Ashtray spends the whole time making fun of my accent because Australian and New Zealanders have very similar accents, but there's certain words that we're cheeky with each other on. So he spends the whole time making fun of my accent, and then Elite spends the whole time making fun of him being from Australia, and like you just gotta do it. But if you ever get a chance, because we also have the Australia New Zealand gaming community game nights on Friday night and Saturday night. So. Which would be just Saturday, probably Thursday and Friday night on your side over in the UK. But if you ever want to join a community gaming night with some Australians and some Kiwis, join us. Just message me on Twitter or message me on Xbox, and I'll send out the details about the times that we usually do it and so on and so forth, because I think it's like 8 p.m. Australian time and 10 p.m. my time in New Zealand on both nights. Yeah,
that's like early morning for UK, isn't it, if I remember correctly? Sort of like,
yes, it's early.
Time zones baffle me nowadays.
It's so hard. But I do go to the American gaming night sometime, which is Sunday midday for me. So yeah, I've gone to that one a couple of times, and that's been real fun.
Nice. But yeah, thank you everyone. If you've stuck around this long, thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed us gushing over Fable, because it's one of the best franchises ever. Everyone should play. If you haven't, download Game Pass, Fable Anniversary, get playing it right now. If you've enjoyed this video, hit like, hit subscribe, and check out, there's the link to the Patreon down below. Like I say, we do a Patreon-only video once a month, and it's only £1. That's £1 British pound. That's cheaper than a drink at Greg's. I mean, what do you want, people? But other than that, thank you very much. Thank you for joining me at last.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to go play some Fable now.
I'm going to have some breakfast, and then I'm going to go play Fable. But yeah.
Breakfast. That's the win. Breakfast and Fable. That's it. I'm going to have to do that one day. Yeah. All day. But that's it, guys. Thank you very much. See you later.
Bye. Thank you.